The feral alien children only trusted one being, the Human Janitor, on a massive space station near a dying star. There were children no one could control. They did not speak. They did not trust. They attacked anyone who came close. Soldiers failed. Scientists failed. Commanders gave up. But every night, the cameras showed something impossible. The feral alien children. Sitting quietly around a human janitor. No weapons. No armor. No fear. Why did the most dangerous beings on the station only trust the weakest worker? And what secret did this simple human carry that even the galaxy could not understand? Because what happens next will change the fate of the entire station. And when the truth is revealed, you will never look at humanity the same way again. Welcome to Cosmic Neon Aliens, if you are watching this. Especially my respected legends above 50, come closer. Adjust your glasses, and gently press that subscribe button. Like you are turning the key of an old treasure chest. Tell me in the comments. Where in this vast universe are you watching from? Now stay with me. Because this story is only getting started. Asterisk. The lower levels of the space station were always cold and dark. The lights flickered without reason. The metal walls made strange echo sounds at night. Workers finished their shifts quickly and avoided looking into the vents because something lived down there. Everyone knew about the children, the alien children rescued from a destroyed planet months ago. At first, they were small and weak, scared survivors from a world burned by war. But something changed after they arrived. They stopped speaking. They refused to eat in front of others. They attacked any officer who tried to touch them. Security teams in full armor tried to control them. But the children moved fast in the tunnels. Like shadows, like smoke, cameras often lost signal when they appeared. Scratches were found on metal doors 3 meters high. No one understood how such small beings could cause so much fear. The station commander ordered the lower maintenance sector sealed at night. No worker was allowed there alone. Rumors spread quickly across the station. Some said the children were possessed. Some said they were planning revenge. Others believed they were not children anymore, only wild creatures wearing the shape of children. One engineer swore he saw glowing eyes inside an air vent. Another cleaner quit after hearing soft whispering in an unknown language. The lower levels became a place of fear. But in the middle of this fear worked a quiet human janitor named Daniel. He was not a soldier. He was not a scientist. He was just a cleaner with a simple cart and old tools. Every night, he pushed his cart slowly through the empty halls. The sound of his mop sliding across the floor was the only calm sound in the darkness. Other workers told him to stay away from the sealed sector. They warned him about the feral children. They said those creatures hated adults, especially humans. Daniel only nodded and continued his work. He had seen fear before. He had lived through worse things. The lower levels did not scare him one night. While cleaning near an old cargo elevator, the lights suddenly flickered harder than usual. Then the hallway became silent. Too silent. Daniel stopped moving his mop. He felt it. Someone was watching him. Slowly, he turned his head toward a broken vent cover on the wall. For a few seconds, nothing moved. Then 2 small glowing eyes appeared inside the darkness. They did not blink. They did not move. They just watched him. Daniel did not shout. He did not run. He simply leaned his mop against the wall and sat down on the floor, his back against the cold metal, as if he was tired after a long day. The glowing eyes did not disappear. Another pair appeared beside the first. Then another. Small shapes slowly crawled out from the vent. Thin arms, sharp fingers, pale skin marked with scars. The alien children stood in the hallway, quiet and ready to attack. Daniel looked at them calmly. His face showed no anger, no fear, only tired understanding. From the security cameras above, officers watched in panic. They prepared to send a response team, but the commander raised his hand and stopped them. Something was different. The children did not rush forward. They did not scream. They circled. Daniel slowly, like wild animals studying a stranger. Daniel reached into his pocket very slowly, every movement careful. He pulled out a small wrapped food bar from his dinner break. He placed it gently on the floor in front of him. Then he moved his hand away. He did not try to touch them. He did not speak loudly. He simply said in a soft voice, "It is okay." The children froze when he spoke, not angry, not afraid, just confused. One smaller child stepped forward, its sharp eyes locked on Daniel's face. It sniffed the air, then looked at the food. For a long moment, no one moved. Security officers held their breath while watching the live feed. The child slowly picked up the food bar, but instead of running away, it sat down, only a few steps away from Daniel. The others followed, one by one. Sitting in silence around the human janitor, the commander whispered in disbelief, "This is impossible. The most dangerous beings on the station, the ones who attacked trained soldiers, were now sitting quietly around a simple human cleaner." And in the cold darkness of the lower levels, for the first time since their arrival, the feral alien children were not acting like monsters. They were acting like lost children, and the only being they allowed near them was the human janitor. But no one watching the cameras understood one thing. Why him, and what would happen next? Asterisk on a station filled with powerful aliens, advanced machines, and famous scientists. Daniel Reed was invisible. He was the human janitor, no medals on his chest, no title before his name, just a gray uniform with a small badge that said cleaning staff. Every morning cycle, he woke up before the main lights of the station turned bright. He liked the quiet hours. No noise, no busy officers, no one ordering him around. He would drink simple black coffee in the empty cafeteria, sitting alone near the large glass window that showed endless space. Stars burned in the distance like silent fires. Sometimes he stared at them longer than needed, as if he was searching for something he had lost. Most crew members walked past him without eye contact. Some believed humans were emotional and weak. Others believed humans were good only for simple labor. Daniel never argued. He never tried to prove them wrong. He simply pushed his cleaning cart and did his job. But there was something different about him. He observed everything. He noticed small cracks in the walls before engineers did. He heard changes in machine sounds before technicians reported them. He understood silence, and he understood fear. Months before arriving at the station, Daniel had lived on a small human colony world, a peaceful place with blue oceans and soft rain. He had a family there, a wife who loved old music, a young daughter who laughed loudly at simple jokes. But pirates attacked the colony without warning. The defense ships were too far away. By the time help arrived, everything was gone. Daniel survived. His family did not after that day. He stopped speaking about the past. He stopped asking why. He accepted a cleaning job on the outer space station because it required no deep conversations, no emotional reports, just work and silence. When the alien children arrived months later, Daniel watched the situation quietly. He saw how security teams tried to control them with force. He saw how scientists tried to scan their brains without permission. He saw fear in the children's eyes. Not anger, fear. He recognized that look. He had seen it in the mirror after losing his own world. The station called them feral, unstable, dangerous. But Daniel saw something else. He saw survivors one night. After his strange encounter in the lower corridor, Daniel returned to his small room. The room was simple: one bed, one locker, one small desk. On the desk was the only personal item he kept. Old photo. He looked at it for a long time. Then he spoke softly to the empty room. "They are just children." The next work cycle, Daniel did something unusual. Instead of avoiding the lower levels, he requested permanent cleaning duty there. Supervisors were confused. Most workers asked to be transferred away from that sector. Daniel volunteered to stay. From that day on, he adjusted his routine. He began leaving small food portions near the vents. Nothing suspicious, just leftovers from his meals. He never placed them too close. He never tried to trap anyone. He simply left them and continued working. At first, the food disappeared only after hours. Then after minutes, one evening, while polishing a metal wall panel, Daniel heard light footsteps behind him, soft, careful. He did not turn quickly. He kept polishing. "I know you are there," he said calmly. No answer, but the footsteps did not run away. Slowly, he sat down on the floor again, not as a guard, not as a hunter, just as a tired man resting. From the corner of his eye, he saw a small figure step into the dim light, the alien child from before, its skin pale, its eyes bright and sharp. It watched him carefully. Daniel gently slid a small sealed water bottle across the floor. The child stared at it, then at him. "You do not have to trust me," Daniel said softly, "but I will not hurt you." The child moved closer, not fully trusting, but not attacking either. This was something security officers could not understand. Why did the children react differently to him? Why did they lower their guard around a simple human janitor? What made him different from armed soldiers and trained diplomats? Maybe it was the way he never tried to control them. Maybe it was the quiet pain he carried inside. Or maybe the children could sense something deeper, a shared loss, a shared understanding of what it meant to lose a world. That night, for the first time, one of the feral alien children sat beside a human, not as an enemy, not as a threat, but as something uncertain, something new. And deep inside the security control room, the station commander began to ask a serious question. If the children only trusted the human janitor, then who was really studying who? Long before the alien children reached the station, they had a home. A planet with silver trees and glowing rivers. A world where the sky changed color every evening. Their species was peaceful. They were not warriors, they were builders and thinkers. They believed knowledge was stronger than weapons. But the galaxy does not always respect peace. A powerful war species discovered their world. A species that believed strength was the only law. The attack came without warning. Warships blocked their sun. Cities burned in hours. Parents pushed their children into hidden tunnels, telling them to stay quiet, telling them to survive. The children watched their world fall apart. They heard screams echo through broken streets. They saw shadows of soldiers moving through fire and smoke. Some children were captured, some were lost. A small group escaped into underground shelters, meant for natural disasters, but no one planned for total extinction. The shelters were dark and crowded. Food ran out quickly. Adults tried to protect the young ones, but one by one, the adults stopped waking up. The children were left alone, too young to understand politics, but old enough to understand death. For months they survived underground, learning to move silently, learning to hide from any sound above them. They stopped speaking because sound meant danger. They stopped crying because tears changed nothing. They learned one simple rule: anyone bigger could hurt them. Anyone stronger was a threat. When a rescue ship from the space station finally arrived, it was already too late to save their planet. The rescuers found only ruins and small groups of silent children hiding in darkness. The station celebrated the rescue as a success. They called it a humanitarian mission. They believed they had saved lives, but they did not understand what the children had become. Trauma had changed them. Fear had shaped them. On the station, bright lights replaced dark tunnels. Strange faces replaced familiar ones. Unknown languages filled the air. The children did not see safety. They saw another invasion. Security officers tried to guide them into safe quarters. The children attacked. Scientists tried to scan their minds. The children resisted. Medical teams tried to separate them for tests. The children screamed in a language no translator fully understood. They clung to each other like a single living shield. The station labeled them unstable, uncooperative, dangerous. What the reports did not say was simple: the children were still in survival mode. They believed the war never ended, and in their small minds, every uniform looked like the soldiers who destroyed their world. Every loud voice sounded like an order before violence. So they chose the only path they knew: strike first, hide fast, trust no one. But something unexpected happened after they met Daniel. The human janitor did not wear armor. He did not carry scanners. He did not shine bright lights into their eyes. He moved slowly. He spoke softly. He sat on the floor instead of standing tall above them. To the children, this behavior did not match the pattern of an enemy. He did not act like a conqueror. He acted like someone who had also lost something. The smallest child among them began watching Daniel carefully each night. It noticed how he sometimes paused while cleaning, staring into space like someone remembering pain. It noticed how he never forced eye contact, never stepped too close, never tried to separate them. For the first time since the destruction of their world, the children felt something unfamiliar. Not safety yet, but curiosity, and curiosity slowly fights fear inside the command center. Scientists studied data from hidden cameras. They noticed something strange. The children's heart rates slowed when Daniel entered the corridor. Their defensive body posture relaxed slightly. Aggression levels dropped by small but clear numbers. The commander stared at the reports in silence. He had soldiers who could break steel doors, diplomats who could negotiate peace treaties, but none of them could calm a group of traumatized children. Only the human janitor could, and no one understood why, until one scientist said something that changed everything. Maybe they do not trust him because he is strong. Maybe they trust him because he is broken. The room became silent, because that idea was dangerous. If pain was the bridge between species, then the station had misunderstood strength. All along, down in the lower levels, the children sat quietly in the shadows, watching Daniel clean the floor like always, but this time, they were not watching a stranger. They were watching someone who survived like they did, and deep inside their young minds, a new question was forming. If this human understands loss, then maybe he understands them. Asterisk. The test did not come with a warning. It came with red lights and a loud alarm that shook the entire station. Daniel was in the lower corridor, pushing his cleaning cart slowly. The alien children were hidden in the vents above, watching him like always. Then the floor vibrated. Metal walls trembled. A voice echoed through the speakers. Containment breach. In Research Sector 7, danger level extreme. Security teams began running through the upper halls. Heavy boots, loud orders, flashing weapons. The children reacted instantly. Their bodies became tense, eyes glowing brighter. They remembered alarms. They remembered chaos. They remembered the last time sirens screamed on their planet. Daniel looked up at the vent. He knew they were there. It is different this time, he said softly. But fear is stronger than words. Suddenly, something crashed through a sealed door at the end of the corridor. A large shape moved in the smoke, tall, armored in thick natural plates, 4 glowing eyes scanning for movement. It was a captured war beast from the same species that destroyed the children's world. It had escaped during a power failure, and now it was loose. The creature let out a deep roar that made the air shake. The alien children froze, not with anger, but with pure terror. This was the sound of their nightmares. Security teams were still 2 levels above. Elevators locked during emergency mode. The corridor was trapped. Only Daniel and the children and the monster. The creature stepped forward slowly. Its heavy claws dented the metal floor. Its eyes locked onto the small shapes near the vent opening. Daniel understood in 1 second what was about to happen. If the creature reached the children, their fear would turn into chaos, and chaos would turn into blood. He did not have a weapon. He did not have armor. He had only a cleaning cart and himself. The creature moved closer. The children began backing deeper into the vent system, but there was no safe exit on that side. Daniel stepped forward, placing himself between the creature and the vent. He grabbed the metal pipe from his cart, not to win, but to distract. The creature noticed him now. It tilted its head slightly, almost confused. Why would a weak human stand in its path? Daniel's heart beat fast, but his face stayed calm. "Hey!" he shouted loudly. His voice echoed against the metal walls. The creature's focus shifted fully to him. Good, that was the plan. Behind him, small glowing eyes watched. The children saw something they did not expect. A larger being standing alone against danger, not attacking them, not running away, but protecting them. The creature charged forward suddenly. Daniel jumped aside at the last second. The claws smashed into the wall. Metal sparks flew into the air. He ran down the corridor, hitting pipes and walls to make noise, drawing the beast away from the vent entrance. Security voices shouted through distant speakers. "Hold position. Backup arriving." But backup was not here yet. The creature caught up to Daniel quickly. Its tail struck his shoulder, throwing him against the floor. Pain shot through his arm, but he forced himself up again. He stood between the monster and the vent once more. The children were no longer hiding. They had crawled halfway out, watching. Something new was forming inside them. Not just fear, not just anger, but confusion. Why would this human risk death for them? The creature raised one heavy claw, ready to strike Daniel down. Time felt slow. The corridor silent except for heavy breathing. Then something unexpected happened. A sharp wave of energy burst from behind. Daniel, the alien children had stepped fully into the corridor. Their small hands raised, eyes glowing bright white. A sudden invisible force hit the creature's body. It stumbled backward, roaring in shock. The children were shaking, their power unstable, but it was focused on protecting the human. Security teams finally arrived, energy weapons firing in controlled bursts. The creature fell after several hits. The corridor filled with smoke and silence. Daniel collapsed to one knee, holding his injured shoulder. He looked back slowly. The children were still standing there, not hiding, not attacking, just staring at him. Security officers aimed weapons at the children by reflex, but the commander's voice came through sharply. "Stand down," because everyone saw it clearly on the live feed. The children did not attack first. They acted only when Daniel was in danger. For the first time since their rescue, the alien children chose to protect someone. And that someone was the human janitor. As medical teams rushed in, one small child walked closer to Daniel carefully. It reached out with a trembling hand and lightly touched his sleeve, not as a threat, not as a test, but as something new, trust. And in that damaged corridor, under red emergency lights, a silent truth became clear to the entire station. The bond between them was no longer one-sided. Now the children were willing to fight for him too. After the attack, the station felt different, not safer, but quieter. News of what happened in the lower corridor spread fast. Every officer had seen the recording. The moment when the alien children used their power, not to attack the station, but to protect the human janitor. Many did not understand it. Some did not trust it. They said it could be manipulation, a survival trick, but deep down, they knew something important had changed. Daniel spent 3 days in the medical bay. His shoulder was fractured, his ribs bruised. Doctors advised him to rest longer, but on the 4th day, he quietly removed the medical bandage sling and walked back to the lower levels. He did not announce it. He did not ask permission. He simply returned to his cleaning route. When he entered the familiar dark corridor, he stopped. The children were not hiding anymore. They were waiting, sitting in the open hallway under soft maintenance lights, watching the entrance, waiting. For him, Daniel gave a small, tired smile. "I told you I would come back," he said softly. One of the smaller children stepped forward slowly, its movements no longer sharp and defensive. It looked at his injured arm carefully, as if checking the damage. Then it touched his sleeve again, gentle this time. Security cameras recorded everything, but no one dared to interrupt. From that day forward, Daniel did not just clean the lower levels. He sat with the children after finishing his work. He brought small, simple items, colored cloth pieces, metal rings from broken machine parts, small lights that glowed softly in different colors. He showed them how to stack objects, how to arrange them in patterns. He never ordered them, he demonstrated. The children copied him slowly. Curiosity replaced fear step by step. One evening, Daniel did something unexpected. He began humming a quiet human melody, an old lullaby his wife once sang to their daughter. The sound was low and calm. The children froze at first. Music was unfamiliar to them, but it was not loud. It was not threatening. One child tilted its head, listening carefully. Another moved closer, sitting beside him. The humming continued. Soft and steady, for the first time, the lower corridor did not feel like a hiding place. It felt like a shelter. In the control room, scientists watched new data streams. The children's brainwave patterns showed stability when Daniel was present. Aggression signals dropped. Their heart rhythms matched a calmer pattern. The commander folded his arms and said quietly, "He is doing what we could not." Days turned into weeks. The children began exploring small areas outside the lower maintenance sector. Only when Daniel walked with them, they stayed close to him, never more than a few steps away. Station crew members stopped in surprise when they saw the sight. Small, once feral beings walking calmly beside a human janitor. No restraints, no guards. One day, something happened that shocked everyone even more. The smallest child among them walked up to Daniel and made a sound, not a growl, not a hiss, but a word: stay. The pronunciation was broken, rough and unclear, but it was a word. Daniel's eyes widened slightly. He knelt down slowly so he was at the same height. "I am staying," he answered gently. The other children watched closely. They began trying to copy simple sounds, short human words: safe, here, no, yes. Language became a bridge, small and fragile, but real. The station council held emergency meetings. Some members argued that Daniel should be reassigned. They feared emotional dependency. They feared future risks. But the commander disagreed. For the first time, "They are healing," he said firmly. "Healing is not a weakness." Down in the corridor, Daniel sat against the wall as usual. The children gathered around him without fear. One leaned against his side. Another rested near his boots. The once dark lower level no longer felt like a prison. It felt like a place of recovery. But even as trust grew stronger, a shadow was moving in deep space, unseen by most of the station. Long-range scanners detected distant signals. Ships entering the outer system quietly. Ships with energy patterns that matched the species who destroyed the children's world. The past was not finished, and very soon, the bond between a human janitor and a group of alien children would face a test far greater than fear. Asterisk, the warning came during the quiet cycle. Most of the station lights were dim. Workers were resting. The alien children were gathered in the lower corridor with Daniel, arranging small glowing lights into simple patterns on the floor. Then the station trembled slightly, not from inside, but from outside. A deep mechanical voice echoed through every hall. "Unidentified fleet entering outer defense zone. Energy signature match confirmed." The commander's face turned pale in the control room. He knew that energy pattern. It belonged to the same war species that destroyed the children's planet. They had found the station, up in orbit. Massive dark ships appeared like shadows blocking distant stars, their hulls covered in thick armor plates, weapons charging with cold blue light. They did not send a message. They did not request entry. They began firing. The first blast struck the station shields. The entire structure shook violently. In the lower levels, the children froze. Their eyes changed instantly. Bright white turning into sharp burning red. Their breathing became fast and uneven. Memories flooded back, burning cities, falling towers, screams in smoke-filled skies. Daniel stood slowly. "It is happening again." One child whispered in broken human speech. He felt the fear spreading through them like fire. If panic took control, they could lose themselves again. And this time, the enemy was not inside a corridor. It was outside in space. Station defenses returned fire. Missiles launched. Energy cannons charged. But the enemy fleet was larger, stronger, more prepared. A second blast broke through part of the shield grid. Warning lights turned red across all sectors. Evacuation alarms activated. Security teams rushed civilians toward escape pods. The children began backing toward the vents, instinct telling them to hide underground again. But Daniel stepped forward and knelt in front of them. "Listen to me," he said calmly. "If you hide now, they win again." The children stared at him, torn between terror and trust. Above them, another explosion shook the station, metal dust falling from the ceiling. The smallest child grabbed Daniel's sleeve tightly. "They will burn everything," it said. Daniel placed his uninjured hand gently over the small shaking fingers. "Not this time," he replied, in the control room. Scientists noticed something strange on internal scanners. Energy readings were rising. In the lower levels, not from machines, from biological sources, the children were gathering together, forming a tight circle around Daniel, their hands touching, eyes glowing brighter than ever before. Daniel felt the air change, a pressure building like a silent storm. He did not fully understand their power, but he understood one thing. They were stronger together, and they were strongest when they felt safe outside. The enemy fleet prepared a final heavy strike, a weapon designed to break stations in one blow. The commander whispered, "If that hits, we are finished," in the lower corridor. The children closed their eyes. Daniel stayed inside their circle, standing tall despite his previous injuries. "I am here," he said firmly. The enemy weapon fired, a massive beam of concentrated energy shot toward the station. Time felt frozen. Then suddenly, a wave of brilliant white light exploded outward from the lower levels. It traveled through the station structure like lightning, connecting to the shield grid, strengthening it, rebuilding it. The enemy beam struck the station, but instead of breaking through, it was absorbed, redirected, pushed back on external monitors. Officers watched in disbelief as a massive protective field expanded around the station. Unlike anything in their records, the children screamed together, not in fear, but in power. Their combined psychic energy created a living shield, fueled not only by survival instinct, but by connection. The enemy fleet hesitated, their sensors confused by the sudden energy surge. Several smaller ships lost systems temporarily. The commander seized the moment. All batteries fire. Station weapons launched in coordinated attack, damaging multiple enemy ships within minutes. The hostile fleet began retreating, pulling away from the defense zone. The danger passed. Slowly, silence returned to space. In the lower corridor, the bright energy faded. The children collapsed to their knees, exhausted. Daniel caught two of them before they hit the floor, his legs shaking from the pressure wave. But he remained standing. Security teams rushed down, not with weapons raised this time, but with medical support. The commander himself entered the corridor, looking at the small exhausted beings and the human in the center. "You saved us," he said quietly. But Daniel shook his head slightly. "They saved us," he answered. One child looked up weakly and whispered, "We did not hide." Daniel gave a tired smile. "No," he said softly, "you did not hide." And for the first time since losing their world, the alien children did not feel like survivors running from fire. They felt like defenders. Because this time, they were not alone. The battle ended, but the silence after it felt heavier than the explosions. Outside the station, broken pieces of enemy ships floated slowly in space. Inside, repair teams worked without